Hi, you guys. Hello and welcome. I hope everybody's doing very well. This is the same day that I'm making a video on my dad's cactus, the Paraschia. That's a pretty niche video though, so forgive me if it's not really your style of video. But this over here is a Philodendron Spiritus sancti hybrid that I got from Ecuagenera out in Ecuador, and I really wanted to share it for a couple of reasons. This is Philodendron Kilali round form crossed with Spiritus Sancti, and I wanted to show you just to kind of show you, and I know some sellers are going to hate me for saying this, but Spiritus Sancti has been tissue cultured, and if you're not familiar with philodendrons, it's an incredibly sought after, rare, incredibly rare like just it doesn't really even occur naturally very much anymore. Philodendron that's quite appreciated in value in the recent years. But there's been quite a few selective crosses that have been successful with Spiritus Sancti that reap really interesting results. So Kilali round is quite wide leafed. It's the kind of philodendron that looks almost kind of like Anthurium metallicum, if you're familiar. But I wanted to show you this so that you can have a bit of an alternative to Philodendron patriciae, because I know Philodendron patriciae is one that a lot of people are trying to get their hands on too, but it's kind of low on stock right now, kind of across the board. But I wanted to share this with you because with hybrid philodendrons, I found something that really works quite well for me. In just one moment. Yeah, and that is using clear pots. If you're really well into growing hybrid philodendrons, you probably already have encountered this. They grow a lot better in plastic pots. They like having really good aeration in their roots, but they also like light penetration into their roots because naturally speaking, they live in leaf litter and they live in places that have very loosely compacted soil. Another thing that I've been trying with this, just to acclimate it to keep it relatively moist but well draining, is I've decided to mix in some lava rock. I don't know if you can see here, with cocoa coir. So this over here is half cocoa coir and approximately half lava rock. I find that when I give this a liquid feed, the lava rock really adheres to the fertilizer, and then it almost functions as a slow release fertilizer. Now, I have this growing outside, which is a little bit daring because it's not a very common hybrid at all. But this is definitely, and all of the Kalali hybrids, all of the Spiritus Sancti hybrids, Sharonii, Patriciae, all of the long leaf philodendrons, I find do better in full sun. I know a lot of growers grow them in part shade. I personally find that you don't get your leaves sizing up unless it's in pretty full sun. Then again, it might be determinant on where you're from, because I'm from Metro Vancouver right now. I grew up in British Columbia here, and we don't get a whole lot of sun compared to, say, for example, Florida or places that are further south. Another thing I was going to say is acclimating. I know a lot of people tend to get really scared when they have yellow leaves on their plants. But this guy over here has been acclimating pretty nicely, but it still gets yellow leaves. And the leaves get a little bit tattered. This is a shipping leaf. What I recommend is waiting for that to turn entirely brown and then cutting that off, because the plant is still using the remnant sugars inside that leaf to feed it. So you're going to want to wait until that totally exhausts itself and dies down. Now, another thing that I was going to say, just one moment, I'm just going to turn this guy around, is with many hybrid large form philodendrons, I find that they don't propagate well in water at all. I grew philodendron painted lady and philodendron chocolate erubescens, and I tried rooting them both in water, and now I'm left with essentially wet sticks because they rotted. So with this guy, and I'm going to propagate it in a while, um, you're going to want to make sure that you have at least a few viable nodes. If you don't use rooting hormone, which I personally don't use rooting hormone with these guys, I don't think they need it. I would still recommend rooting in sphagnum moss. So I'm going to air layer kind of here halfway up with sphagnum moss. And my other recommendation with air layering philodendrons is you really, really want to make sure that you leave them on for a little longer than you think you need to. because if you get these aerial roots, these secondary roots that are only a couple of centimeters long, you might think that it's enough to sustain this foliage on top, but you might be surprised with rapidly yellowing leaves, so you want to be very careful. These guys like being a little bit pot bound, but yeah, I just wanted to show you. So you can be successful with importing equigenera, philodendrons, and similar tropicals plants philodendrons, but another thing I want to say is make sure you have decently high humidity. Even if you're trying to later on acclimate it to a lower humidity place, they don't appreciate the low humidity upon getting them. So if you have a humidifier, if you can keep it a few feet away from them, or an IKEA cabinet or similar, I recommend doing that. And always, 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 always quarantine these when you get them. They're very susceptible to thrips, which you really don't want, as well as spider mites. So this over here is just my Philodendron Killalii round Spiritus sancti cross. And I just wanted to kind of make this video as a bit of an optimistic point that a lot of these hybrids are becoming more accessible to the general public. A lot of them are depreciating in price with tissue culture. So if you see your favorite philodendron out there and it's out of budget, maybe wait a couple of years. Once it gets into commercial propagation and tissue culture, you might be able to nab it then. So yeah, these are very heavy feeders too, is the one other thing I'm gonna say. So yeah, very happy with this plant equigenera. Thank you very much. Stay blessed, you guys, and have a great day.